Welcome to everybody on today's Training Tuesday call for Education USA in the East Asia and Pacific region. My name is Charles Hornstra. I'm one of the REACs, or the Regional Education Advising Coordinators for Education USA, based in Bangkok, Thailand, covering the mainland Southeast Asia region, Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, and China. I'm also on the call today with my REAC colleagues, Vincent Flores and Luke Yim, who are based in Korea and Indonesia, respectively. And we're really happy to have not only our Education USA advisors on the call, but also students that are interested in LLM programs in the United States. Today's call is an Education USA training session for our EAP advisors, but it's also open to the public. So we do have students joining to learn more information, tips, tricks, and valuable information that they can use when applying to LLM programs in the US. The session will cover general information about choosing an LLM program in the United States, and it will also help Education USA advisors to talk about LLM opportunities with interested students. In addition, the session will provide an overview of programs and the application process, and it will talk to interested students and help to answer any questions that they might have. As a disclaimer, I am going to mention again that this session is being recorded, and for anyone who either missed a portion of the session or would like to go back and refer to information, you can always check out the East Asia and Pacific YouTube channel for Education USA. You can find that with a quick Google search or contacting any of your local Education USA advising centers for the link. With that being said, let's turn it over to our co-host for today. We have LLM schools across the United States joining us. We have Sarah Dorner from the University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce School of Law, which is located in Concord, New Hampshire. We have Lauren Hartley with St. John's University School of Law, located in Queens, New York. Ali Lampson with Temple University Beasley School of Law in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Maria Landry with Tulane University School of Law in New Orleans, Louisiana. And Tara Maloud with St. Louis University School of Law, located in St. Louis, Missouri. To kick us off, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren with St. John's University School of Law to introduce herself and her colleagues and get us started on how to choose the right LLM program for you. Over to you, Lauren.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. It's a good evening for us in the US, and we're pleased to be here with you today and to provide this information for you. I'm going to give you just an overview of what we'll be discussing today, and then my colleagues and I will cover each of these sections, and we'll have time at the end to discuss a little bit about our schools and the opportunity for you to ask questions. So I think for now we'll hold questions until the end and then answer them for you. So I will start us off by giving a bit of an explanation of first of all, what is an LLM? What do these letters mean? So an LLM is a legal master's degree. In US law schools, US law school is a graduate school. And so, for example, I went to law school in the US. I earned my JD, it's called. And before I went to law school, I went to earn my bachelor's degree. So when I went to law school, I was earning my graduate degree. So an LLM is a legal master's degree, is therefore for people who have already earned a degree in law. For international students, this maybe means they've earned an LLB or perhaps a bachelor's degree. For international students, it is most common that a legal master's takes 2 semesters to earn full-time, and usually it's about 24 credit hours. Maybe in comparison, it may be helpful to think about what an LLM is not. So it's not a first degree in law. Like I said, when I earned my JD, even though it was a master's degree, it was my first degree in law, and it was 3 years long. There's also something called an SJD. That's an advanced doctorate degree. which is another type of advanced degree. And that can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So an LLM degree will be appropriate for someone who's already earned that first degree in law. They've earned their LLB or their bachelor's degree, and they want to earn an advanced degree in law in the US. Two main features to think about for an LLM, why someone might want to earn an LLM, is that it's required usually for a foreign educated student who wants to be admitted to the bar. That's the phrase we mean. Admitted to the bar means being able to practice as an attorney in the US. And New York and California are the US states that have the most, foreign attorneys and permit applicants from other countries to come and earn their admission in those states. And an LLM degree might be a general LLM or what we call a specialized LLM. And I will pass it over to one of my colleagues to give you a little bit more information about the differences in those types of programs.
Hey everyone, so my name is Sarah Dorner, and as Charles said before, I'm with the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law. So I think one of the first things to think about before you're choosing an LLM program is whether you're looking to do a general LLM, which is going to give you general knowledge about the US legal system, and it will be helpful to you in a variety of types of international law practice. It will give you some flexibility in terms of choosing your courses. And you might be able to kind of customize your course schedule a bit more with a general LLM. Some general LLMs will even allow you to choose a concentration within them. And as Lauren mentioned, in terms of preparing for a US bar exam, this can be, there are LLMs that are kind of designed to help prepare you for a US bar exam. On the other side is a specialized LLM. So these are going to give you specialty knowledge in a specific field of law. And they'll kind of complement your area of law practice. So some examples are at Franklin Pierce, our specialty is intellectual property. Other schools have specialized LLMs in business or gaming or maritime law. So if you know that there's a specific area of law where you want to practice, the specialized LLM might give you those expert credentials in that area. A specialized LLM is likely to have a more defined curriculum requirements. And there might still be opportunity for you to become eligible for US bar exam, but you'll need to be mindful of your course selection so that you're meeting the program's specialized requirements and still taking those bar prep courses. Thanks, Lauren. Lauren's kind of helping move us through the slides here. So once you've decided if you want to do the specialized or general LLM, there's a number of different factors that you might consider. So the first is really the program size. Some LLM programs are really just a handful of students, and others can have hundreds of students in them. So give some thought as to what type of program would be the right fit for you. Do you want a smaller program where you might get to know the faculty and your classmates a little bit better? Or do you want a larger program that might have a larger international student body? The next factor to consider is location. The US is huge. So, are you looking to be on the East Coast where there's seasonal weather? Are you looking to be on the West Coast where it tends to be a bit sunnier all year round? Do you want to be in a large city or more of a rural suburban area? Are you looking to be in the great outdoors or in a more metropolitan area? So these are all personal decisions that you'll want to think through. But as you're looking for schools, think about where you would be happy living for a year. And then another factor is the reputation of the school and the faculty. So rankings aren't everything, and we know that they're important. But they're not everything. There's a lot more to the story, I think. And but I would say at the same time, if you are looking for a specialized LLM, you might want to take a look at the specialty rankings to see where your school falls in that specific subject area. Look for, are there faculty experts in your field? Look at their bios. A lot of schools' websites will list their faculty and their background. So take a look at that area and see if the faculty fit with your interests. And we'll go to the next slide. And then a few other factors to consider. So the curriculum and the course offerings. look, if you are considering a specialized LLM, you want to make sure that they're going to have a significant number of course offerings in that area. And you'll also want to ask, can you take classes with JD students? Some schools do not allow that, and other schools do allow you to take classes with JD students. So think about that and ask those questions. You might also want to consider what kind of professional opportunities the school will afford. So I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the presentation, but I do want to just briefly touch on clinical programs. So clinics are a great opportunity for hands-on learning. Students have the opportunity to take on real casework under the supervision of licensed attorneys. And they usually will center around specialized fields of law while also serving the public interest. So they're a great way for you to build your resume, while you're earning your credits towards your LLM. You might also want to look into whether your school offers curricular practical training, which is kind of getting some work experience during the LLM program itself, and then optional practical training, which will allow you to work after the program is completed. So ask what types of supports they have in place if you are looking to pursue optional practical training and spend an additional year working in the US. In addition, you might also want to consider what types of co-curricular and student networks are available to you. Ask what types of student organizations exist. Are they aligned with your interest? Ask if LLM students get involved with these organizations and if there are leadership opportunities. Schools do this differently, so these are definitely questions that you want to ask. A lot of this information is available on schools' websites, but if you're having trouble finding it or just want to learn more, reach out to schools, ask if you can talk with a current student and hear about their experience. Another factor to consider is the school's alumni networks. How big is their alumni network, and where are the alumni from? Are they practicing law where you hope to practice law someday? And how easy is it to connect with them? So another great question that you want to be asking when researching LLM programs. And then any other special characteristics that might be important to you. So we recommend, as you're kind of researching all of this, that you select a range of schools to apply to. Certainly you don't want to go applying to dozens of law schools, but if you're not quite sure and you're still trying to figure it all out, you might want to keep your options open and apply to a number of different schools and figure out which one will be the best fit for you. And then this slide here just gives you a number of different resources for researching LLM programs. So the Law School Admissions Council has a directory of LLM programs, and you can sign up for their free candidate referral service, and this will allow schools to find and contact you. LLM Guide and LLM Study are also great websites to search for different LLM programs. And then the ABA has the American Bar Association has a listing of specializations and LLM programs, both by the category of law, the field of law, and by the school. So again, just helpful resources as you begin your research into finding LLM programs in the US. Right, and I will pass it over to the next presenter.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm not able to start my video. It says the host has stopped it.
We can get that back on for you. Give us 1 second.
Okay, no problem. Oh, there we go. Hello, good morning. Thank you so much for having us. This is a topic that students ask a lot of questions about, so we always like to share as much information about it. And again, in the spirit of giving you good ideas of what questions to ask about the programs, here's kind of like an overview of what different schools offer in terms of career resources. And I would encourage you to inquire about this when you're deciding which LLM program you are going to join. It is sometimes hard for international students to adjust to the way American legal or just the educational system works. And one of the kind of mindset shifts is how much the school serves as like a full service operation. So whereas in other places they might have a smaller staff and the interactions are predominantly with faculty. In most American universities, and particularly in American law schools, there is a whole department that is just related to career services. And oftentimes, in the way that we do it at Temple is there is a designated person who works with the LL.M students on their career goals, helping them with resume review, and cover letters, finding opportunities. So all schools do it, and it's just a question of how they do it and what resources are available. And you should ask, because there might be different resources that are available to JD versus LL.M students, and these are things that you want to know. The career advising aspects can include a lot of different things. It can include deciding which courses are going to be the most attractive to apply for a very specific job that you might want. It can include resume and cover letter review. It might include mock interviews. This is something that we do where we have volunteers and we set up basically a fake interview where you are going to be asked questions, and then the interviewer will give you feedback on how your responses were perceived and how you might adjust your responses so that you are presenting a more polished version of yourself. Different schools, the career resources or the LL.M departments are going to invite speakers or host job fairs or lecture series, again, to get you thinking about what opportunities are out there and what you might use your LL.M degree to do. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, career services can help with selecting and applying for internships and other work opportunities. Next slide. Thank you. So setting yourself up for career success means accepting that mind frame shift to your law school being in part a service to you. You are paying a lot of money to attend a law school in the United States, and I hope that you get all of the value out of it. So make use of the career services that are available to you. Also, think about how you can use the alumni network. Oftentimes, you just need to ask, and someone in the LL.M program would be inclined or remembers a student who either is from your country or is practicing the type of law that you want to practice. You just have to be working to ask and to make your desires known. You also may want to find out what other opportunities are available to build your network. For instance, in response to students' queries, we have been working with our International Law Society to create a database of alumni who are interested in serving as mentors for our LL.M students. So again, ask and you shall receive, which is ask a lot of questions, find out what schools are doing, because a lot of schools are doing exciting things to make sure that they're setting their students up for success. Next slide. There's also opportunities in law school to gain work experience in the US. The way that that's most frequently done is through practicums or internships. And again, every law school does it a little bit differently. In response to what the feedback that we had received from students, that they didn't really feel like they had the time to do a clinic, but they had an interest in some sort of job shadowing. We actually created a 1-credit class called Ethics in the Profession, where students are paired up with local Philadelphia attorneys, and they job shadow them and then write a reflection piece about their experience. These are just some of the creative ways in which you might be able to actually, shadow an attorney, do some legal research, visit courts, basically learn how professionalism is actually exercised in practice in the community where you are studying. Another thing to be brushing up on is the OPT rules, meaning the optional practical training rules. These are sort of in flux, and most schools have an international student services department to help you answer any questions you might have about your eligibility to participate in OPT. And lastly, the traditional law clinics that my colleague Sarah had mentioned are opportunities where you actually are taking on a case under the supervision of a licensed attorney. And this is a great way to get some practical experience and build your resume. So ask which clinics, or look on the internet, which clinics each law school has and which ones you might be interested in, and try to figure out what requisite courses you need to take to be able to participate in one of these clinics. Next slide. And I'll turn it over to my colleague to explain, now that we've gotten you excited about coming to one of our LLM programs, how do you apply?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Landry, and I am the Director of Admissions at Tulane Law School in New Orleans, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the application process. So there's a couple of ways that you can apply to law school, to the LLM programs at universities in the United States. And the majority of schools will tell you that you have a couple of options, and that those options are going to be through the LSAC website, which is the Law School Admission Council that does the admissions not just for the LLM programs, but also for JDs. So they do, and they pretty much run the admission process for the majority of the schools in the US for US students and international students. So that's one way to do it. And the other way is applying directly to the school or schools that you're interested in participating or in submitting an application to. Not all schools that accept applications directly to their universities will have that information on their website. And sometimes you'll just read, if you want an application to be submitted directly to our school, please email us. Some schools will have the application available on their website. So look for the different options. The other thing to mention here, because I know that there's a lot of Education USA representatives on this video, is that a lot of universities will accept applications coming directly from your offices. So if the students come directly through you, through your office, and not simply advised by you, there is a good chance that the schools will accept the application coming directly from your office. There's pros and cons in applying via LSAC or applying directly to the schools. And those are, if you apply through LSAC, the majority of the schools will either have a fee attached to the application, or you can ask the school to waive the application fee, or that application fee will be automatically waived, but there will be some sort of fee. And that's not just the fee associated with the school, but also the fee associated with transcript submission, with the gathering of all your documents, letters of recommendation, English proficiency, if it needs to be submitted. So LSAC will charge a fee for that. So why would students choose LSAC if there's a fee associated with that? One of the reasons is if you're applying to a large number of schools, you want to, and you are interested in submitting several different applications, and different schools have different ways to accept your application forms. Maybe you want to consider, am I going to spend just this one-time fee applying via LSAC, or am I going to be mailing documents to the school in New York, in the school in California, in the school in New Orleans, in the school in the Midwest? Do I want to pay all those charging fees for schools that want the original reports now? So it's worth the time to sit down, look at the number of schools that you're applying, see the different options that the schools offer you, and see and do a pros and cons list on what would be more expensive at the end of the day, and make a decision on how you want to submit your application. And also please consider that there are schools that only accept applications via LSAC, and there are schools that really like you to submit the application directly to them. So have those things in consideration. Also, all of this goes through the efficiency, all of this goes through the timelines. Make sure that you're submitting the applications based on the timelines that the schools need you to submit them by. If you're mailing a lot of documents, might take longer. If you submit just one time your transcripts to LSAC and LSAC then sends it over to a lot of different schools, you might be a simple and faster process. So consider all these factors. Next slide, please. Then the requirements itself for the application. The number one, and I think this for all the lawyers out there, this is a pretty easy one. Read everything. Read. Different schools have different requirements. The ones that are on this slide are the very standard ones, and I'll go through each one of them. But the key here is either read the top of the application where all the information that you need to know about that specific school requirements shows up, or a lot of schools have their have a checklist list that you have to check everything and make sure that you're submitting everything. But make sure that you read in detail for each one of the schools that you're applying every single requirement, because the last thing that you want is to get an incomplete application and start this back and forth from the school. Now send me this, now send me that. And you thought that you were submitting your application timely, and at this point, it has passed several weeks since you started this process. So read all the details, make sure to make a list of everything that you need to submit. Complete your application, don't leave any mandatory fields out. See if there's a fee that's required for you to pay. Keep in mind that a lot of times the fee is automatically waived, like I mentioned, or if it's not automatically waived, you can always go back to the schools and ask for a fee waiver. I always tell everyone the worst thing that you can hear is a no, but generally speaking, a lot of schools are waiving their application fees. Transcripts, and I'll talk to the transcripts a little in detail in the next couple of slides. But this is very important. Obviously, we need to know if you graduated from law school, show us all of your transcripts, all the documents related to your first law degree will be required to be submitted. A personal statement. So a personal statement, generally speaking, is just a couple of pages. It's a document that tells us a little more about yourself, your interest in why you're doing the LL.M. I always tell our students that we always like to see a paragraph or two that you dedicate to that school that you're applying. So if you're applying to 6 different schools, it's very normal to use the same standard baseline of a personal statement, but maybe use the last couple of paragraphs of each personal statement to dedicate to each school that you're applying. So if you're applying to Tulane, maybe go to our website, look what makes us strong, what do you think you like about the program, and write a couple of paragraphs about it. If you're applying to Temple, you should do the same. So for each one of the schools, do a little research and change those notes on your research for the school if you're mentioning the reasons why you're applying to that school in specific on your personal statement. You always have to submit also a resume, CV. So the other thing that I say about the personal statement is make sure that it's not a repeat of your resume, so that you're submitting different information on both documents. So use your personal statement to be a little more personal, to be a little more about what you want to do or what brings you to that to the LL.M project, what you want to do with that degree, and leave the resume to show what school you attended, what jobs you've had. So make that distinction there. Characters and fitness disclosure, if they're applicable. Keep in mind that a lot of you, and Lauren was mentioning this during her presentation, a lot of you will want to take the bar exam in the US. And one of the things that you're required to submit when you apply for a bar exam in the US is to submit the application that you sent to the school where you did your LL.M, and they will see if you submitted all the characters in fitness. So if there's any violation in your past, it's better to disclose it. English proficiency, again, I put it here if applicable, because for the majority of the schools, English proficiency is required only if your first law degree was not taught in English, or if English is not your first language. So if your first law degree was taught not in English, and your first language is not English, you will need to submit an English proficiency score. That varies from university to university when it comes to the specific numbers, but the majority of the schools will accept currently TOEFL or IELTS. Keep in mind that you can do those remotely now. There's also Duolingo, but not a lot of schools are accepting Duolingo, or there's a smaller number of schools that accept Duolingo. So that's the other thing that's part of that reading that I was saying in the beginning. Read, and see what each specific school that you're applying allows you to submit. Some of them will accept English proficiency certificates from Cambridge, for example. So read all those things. 2 letters of recommendation is normally the standard for an LLM application, and those letters of recommendation should come from people that know you, either know you on an from an academic standpoint, or from your work environment. So someone that supervised you at a law firm, or someone that taught you in law school. Those are great letters of recommendation. And the last one, a few schools will require you to submit a writing sample, even if your first law degree was taught in English, even if your first language is English. Some schools will use just a personal statement as a reference to the writing sample. Some schools will want the writing sample in addition to that. Next slide, please. And I'm sorry, I know that's a lot of information, but it's good to know that all of the things that you should be submitting. Additional information when it comes to the application process. I always tell everyone that addendums are welcome. And what does this mean is if there's anything, so let's say if you think your grades were not as great as you wanted them to be, if you do have a characteristics in fitness to disclosure, just add information. We're never going to judge your application for having too much information, but we will have questions if there's something missing on your application. So I always say more is better when it comes to an application to the LLM program. So make sure if there's anything that you think you need to add to the application, just put it out there. Follow the deadlines. Again, that goes back to all the reading and the different research that you're doing to different schools. Different schools have different deadlines. Some schools have a deadline, they have their deadlines coming now. Some schools will be accepting applications all the way to June. Some schools have an optimal application process that goes from now until March. Keep those deadlines in mind. Also because those will assist you when it comes to scholarships and tuition waivers. And my colleague next will talk a little bit about that. Keep copies of everything. I think that's also a very lawyery thing to say, but it's true. Keep copies of everything, copies of your applications, copies of what you submitted, copies of everything. Keep your information up to date. And what this means is if you are planning on receiving your immigration documents, if you move from one apartment to another, you don't want your immigration documents to be sent to the apartment that you don't live in anymore. So keep all that information up to date. And the last here on the additional information will be check your email. These days, most schools will notify you if you've been admitted by email, at least initially by email. They will let you know if there's something missing on your file by email. They will let you know if they need an interview. In some schools require interviews by email. So make sure that, and that's also keep up information up to date. If you move from one firm to another and you use the firm email on your application, as soon as you leave that firm, send an email to the school that you apply saying, hey, no longer using this email, use this one now, but keep your email up to date. And my last slide, please, will be about the transcripts. I think this is a big one, and that's why I made a whole slide about it. And I'll be short because I know that Tara needs to go. Next, but pretty much what I need to tell you about transcripts is there are a big part of your application, and not so much for the grades, but for the fact that we want to make sure that you have the degree that you need to participate in an LLM, because we need to make sure that we are reading the correct documents. So first thing is your documents should be translated. So if you're attending a school anywhere in the world that the original documents don't come in English, make sure that those documents are translated. Some schools will translate the documents automatically. For some schools, for some institutions, you'll have to find a notary to translate the documents for you, but make sure that those documents are translated. Foreign transcript evaluations, a lot of universities that don't have an in-house way of evaluating your transcripts will ask for your documents to be verified and to be evaluated. And that goes back to that fee charged by LSAC. So we have this thing when you apply via LSAC, you apply for all the schools, and then all the schools get the same CAS report, which is not just a copy of the transcripts that you submit to them, but also there's an evaluation of those transcripts. So we get a document that say, yes, this person got an LLB. The LLB in this country corresponds to the first law degree. So this person is good to go to have an LL.M. That is via LSAC, but there's a lot of other agencies, and I left the website here, that do the same evaluation of transcripts. So if the school accepts it any other way, there's WES, there's a number of different companies that will evaluate the transcripts, some more expensive, some less expensive, but there are alternatives out there. And that's all for the application process.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good evening to my colleagues here. My name is Tara Molut. I am the Assistant Director of International Admission at St. Louis University School of Law. It's located in the state of Missouri. My colleagues talked about the differences between JD and LL.M and other programs, and the admission process, the application requirements, and the different ways and methods for submitting the application. Now, the biggest question here is how to fund the LL.M study in the United States. While universities they have different costs and different prices for their LL.M program, many schools is somewhere in the $45,000 range, and that does not include expenses such as housing, transportation, healthcare, books, food, travel, entertainment. So the LL.M program is generally a 1-year study, and that can easily cost between $60,000 to $80,000 for the students. So now I'll be talking briefly about some methods of funding for the program, and that includes grants, scholarship, merit scholarship, on-campus jobs, loans, some charity or organization funds that are specific to some religion or to some background or to some ethnicity, and etc. So the first thing is, I always tell the students who contact me to, ask questions when they reach out to the university. Ask questions from the admission, from the first email, ask questions about, of course, the application process, the admission process and all that, and then about scholarship and funds that are available, whether from the school or from outside. My colleagues talked about reading everything on their websites, and I can't stress enough on that. Please read everything, because most of the scholarship and funding opportunities are listed in most of the websites for a lot of universities. And if not, and if you have any questions about those, please reach out to the representatives and ask them questions. And you may ask them to connect you with the financial aid office, that most of the time they have other sources to provide you. So the first funding option would be grants and scholarship. And grants and scholarship are funds that are not required to be repaid. So it's not a loan. Once the student receives a scholarship or a grant, that the student will not be required to pay them back after they finish the program or after they graduate. So some scholarships are those offered by the US-based Fulbright Commission. Are highly competitive, and they are available in 155 countries, and they have a website for that. So I encourage the students always to look up the Fulbright Commission website for funding opportunities. There are also grants that are offered to a limited range of students, to students of a certain religion, ethnicity, or academic interest or nationality. The other source of funding would be from the law schools. Most law schools have a merit-based scholarship, and some of their top LL.M applicants receive a very competitive amount of scholarship. It's always a good idea to establish that contact with the financial aid office of the law school. Sometimes even a quick browse around a law school website, again, the website is very important, can raise awareness about funding possibilities. I would like to mention that most of the law schools, they do not require a separate application for their scholarship. However, some will do. For most, the application for the admission is the same for the scholarship. So once you are submitting the application for the admission, at the time they're reviewing your application for the admission, they will decide on your scholarship. But always, again, ask if there's a separate application for the scholarship and if there is a deadline for the scholarship, because you don't want to miss any of those. So ask, and if there is, you will know, and if there is not, then your application for the admission will be enough for the scholarship purpose. Another source of funding would be getting a loan from some of the banks or private institutions, whether from your country or in the United States. We have had students in the past from different parts of the world who were able to get a loan from a bank or private institutions in their country. And we have some resources in most of our schools' websites of private information about private institutions who offer a loan to international students if they have a cosigner in the United States, which means if somebody, be a cosigner for them, and that person in most cases must be a US citizen or a green card holder. Again, look at the website, the scholarship or the financial aid page, and there are links and information for private institutions and private scholarship and private grants and such. Another way for international students to get, this one is a smaller amount of fund, but it helps also in many ways. It's employment. Students who come here, they are on a F1 visa and they are allowed to work on campus for the school for a maximum of 20 hours per week. And they will be paid for the amount of the hours that they work per week. Again, this is not a large amount of money, but it will be very helpful for students to cover a small part of their costs. We know that coming to the United States will be, and studying LL.M is a lot of costs or money for students. So that employment and the job that they are doing on campus most likely will be some research with a law faculty, or it's an on-campus. Our students, for example, sometimes they do work at the Office of International Services, but mostly they work with the law professors doing research in certain area of law. I talked about Fulbright scholarship. Again, this is very competitive, and I do encourage students to check the website for the Fulbright and see if there's any funding opportunity to help them with their LLM study. There is also, again, in some countries that there are private organizations and company that they do offer scholarship or fund for students who are going to United States to study certain area, whether it's law or another major or another degree. So these are briefly some information about how to fund your LLM degree in the United States. Always check the websites, and if there is something that raise questions, we always welcome questions. We are so available always to answer all of your questions. We know that making the decision to go to another country to study law is not an easy decision to make. So please reach out to us, and we are here to help and to answer all of your questions, including funding and all that. Next slide, please.
Hi, so now we'll just give, each of us will give quickly a minute or so about our individual schools and our programs to help give you some examples of also the things we just talked about. And then we'll answer questions from the group. So again, I represent St. John's University School of Law, which is based in New York City, so the Center of Global Legal Practice. We offer 3 different types of LLM degrees. So we offer a degree in US legal studies. We offer a degree in transnational legal practice, and that is on comparative and international law. And within that degree, students can concentrate in different areas. So they might concentrate in business law or public international law or dispute resolution. And then we, within both of those degrees, have tracks that will prepare students for the New York bar exam. Being in New York, we specialize in preparing students for the New York bar exam. We also have the only LLM in the US that is dedicated to bankruptcy or insolvency law. So this is a specialized degree. If you're an international student to applying to this program, you should really have prior experience in bankruptcy or insolvency law. And if you are looking to study for the New York bar exam, you can combine that with one of our other degrees. So those are our degrees. We offer the opportunity to start in either August or January. So it's our spring semester and fall semester. We start in either semester. We have a rolling, we say, application deadline. So we consider applications on an ongoing basis up until shortly before the semester starts. We offer lots of internship and career opportunities. Being in New York, there's a great opportunity with lots of different law firms, law practices, organizations, and nonprofit organizations, governmental organizations, NGOs. We do consider all students for scholarship, and there's no fee to apply. And again, we do offer lots of focus on preparing students for the New York bar exam and offer lots of support there. And that is my email address and our website. So that's how you can reach our office if you've got questions.
Hi again, everyone. So I'll be brief. So the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law is located in Concord, New Hampshire. That's about 4 hours from New York, so the northeast of the US. Easy access to Boston and the wonders of nature. So for those of you who enjoy the outdoors, we have it all here in all 4 seasons to enjoy. We offer 3 LLM programs, and these are all specialized LLMs. So we have intellectual property, commerce and technology, and international criminal law and justice. And that program is offered online only. We offer the number 4 intellectual property law program in the US. With one of the largest full-time faculty in the fields of IP, an incredibly comprehensive list of IP and technology law courses, as well as one of the largest IP academic libraries in the Western Hemisphere. Our alumni network is in over 80 countries. Students in our program do have the opportunity to gain real-world experience through our intellectual property and transaction clinic. We also have an academic success program that was originally designed for our JD students, but has been extended to our LLM students as well, designed to help you be successful in the US legal classroom, but also to help prepare you for a US bar exam. Our tuition rates are competitive. I know we talked a little bit earlier that the cost of an LLM can be quite expensive. We've worked really hard to keep our rates low and at the same time still offer a number of different scholarships. So I will leave it there. My contact information is on the screen, and I look forward to answering your questions after.
Hi, everyone. My name is L.L.M, and I am the representative from Temple University Beasley School of Law. We are located in Philadelphia, and it's pretty convenient to both Washington, D.C. and New York City. I've lived in over a dozen cities in the United States, and I chose to call Philadelphia my home. So you can reach out to me if you're deciding among different places to be or visit, and I will give you my best pitch about why Philadelphia is the best option. We also have international campuses in Tokyo and Rome, which is kind of speaks to our attitude towards international law and international students and opportunities to travel abroad. It is definitely a focus of Temple. As I spoke about a little bit during the presentation, Temple has great one-on-one career services that are tailored specifically to our LLM students. We also have been recognized for trial advocacy, legal research and writing, and international law, all of which are ordinarily very interesting to LLM students. And Temple is also known for its practical training. And again, I had spoken about one of the ways in which we are trying to do our best to make sure that the LLM students are also capitalizing on the practical training, which is our Ethics in the Profession course. So I just want to reiterate my colleague Tara's sentiment about how available we all are in terms of answering any of your questions and getting to know each one of you, because we recognize the financial and resource intensive nature of this kind of commitment. So thank you so much for your time.
Hi, sorry. Again, I'm here representing Tulane Law School, and there's a lot that I can tell you about Tulane. There's a lot that I can tell you about New Orleans. I'll start by saying that I think it's not only it's the heart of the South, but it's a wonderful city. It's full of culture and influences from different parts of the world. We're known for our food, we're known for jazz, we're known for a lot of wonderful things, but we're also very well known for wonderful programs that we offer at Tulane Law School. We offer 5 LLM programs. We have the #1 program in the world when it comes to maritime law. We also have very strong programs in energy environmental law, American law for those of you who are interested in taking the bar, and we have a very, very large general LLM in the sense that you have over 150 courses a year that you can choose from, allowing you to take classes in IP, business, sports law, you name it. I will go back though to the international and comparative, because I think this is something particular about Louisiana, about Tulane, and about our university that also makes us special and unique. And that's the fact that Louisiana is the only state in the United States that does civil law. So we work like most of the world, and not like most of the United States, but we do also have the majority of our JD students, or the majority of our US students, are from common law states. So 80% of our students are from outside Louisiana. So what does this mean to you? It means that we do both civil law and common law very well. So that's one of the reasons why I left the International and Comparative program for last, is to tell you that I think we have a very good one for those reasons, due to our civil and common background. I told you where we're located. We have a wonderful global network. We have students all over the world. We also prepare international students for practice. We have clinics. I will be very honest, not all LL.M students cannot participate in all clinics that we offer. We offer 8 clinics, but international students are only allowed to participate in 2, but we do have that possibility. We have internships. We have a career development office dedicated to our international students that helps them find jobs, that helps them with the OPT, that helps them with the International Fair of Jobs in New York, and that happens every year in January, or at least we hope that comes back to it. International students are always welcome, and a lot of them do participate in journals, and we have 8 different journals that students can participate in. And scholarships are available. I think Tara mentioned this, that some schools ask for a specific application for that. We don't. All LL.M students are considered for scholarships when they apply to Tulane. Those are merit scholarships. And I'll be more than happy to talk to you about the program, about how wonderful New Orleans is. And you have my email and the contact in the website there. Thank you.
Hello again, I'm Tara Maulud from St. Louis University School of Law. We are located in the Midwest. We are about 5 hours driving from south of Chicago. So we are closer to the East Coast than the West Coast. We have a beautiful city. St. Louis is, it's affordable relatively compared to most of the cities in the United States. SLU law has been established in 1874. It's been a member of the American Bar Association, accredited by the American Bar Association since 1924. It offers 4 concentrations over 3 centers of excellence: Center for International and Comparative Law, Center of Health Law, and Employment and Labor Law. And we have the #1 health law program in the United States, and offers extensive professional skills and training. 92% of our students receive scholarship, and students, domestic students and international students receive the same scholarship if they have the same qualification, and everybody pays the same tuition. We don't have a different tuition for international versus domestic students. And our bar passage rate is 93%. And I think nationally the rate is 87, 89%. We have an entire department helping students for a bar exam and get them prepared. We have clinics, and we have 5 clinics, and all 5 clinics are accessible for international students to get knowledge and experience and work. And next slide, my email address is listed. Please email us and let us know if you have any questions about anything. A lot of time, some students are interested in some program that we don't have, but we do refer them to other schools that they do have those programs. So reach out to us and ask your questions. We are here to answer your question and help you make that important decision. Thank you.
Okay, great. I think all of our panelists have now gone. If we can stop sharing the presentation, our panelists can turn your videos back on. We are a little bit over time, but for those of those advisors and students that are still joining, we do want to get to a few of the questions in the chat box, so feel free to still stay tuned in. And once again, a big thank you to all of our representatives from the various law schools that have just presented. We really appreciate the information, tips, and guidance that you've shared with both our advising network and the students joining in. We have a few questions in the chat box, which we'll try to get to. It's kind of, we'll throw it out there and any one of you can jump in to answer. In the sake of time, if you have anything additional to add, please feel free to, if someone takes the first stab at the question, but we don't necessarily need to repeat information if the first response was comprehensive enough. So let's get right into it. We have a question from Russia, actually, outside of the East Asia Pacific region, but thank you for joining. In what cases may a program require a writing sample? Do we have any of the representatives that would like to possibly answer that question?
At St. John's, we typically require a writing sample, and a writing sample for us is something that the applicant has already produced. So either for work or for school, and it could be a piece of something longer, so maybe 3 to 5 pages. So for example, if you're a student and you have a paper that you wrote, that part of that could work. Or if you are a practicing attorney and you have something that you wrote in the course of your job, we would accept that as well. And we would usually say that you should redact any sensitive information. So you should black out any sensitive information. And so that's the policy at St. John's, is that we always ask for a writing sample.
I will say that it goes towards what we were saying when it comes to the read detail in the beginning of the application. Tulane doesn't require a writing sample, so there's not really a case in a specific program requiring it. I think it really varies from program to program.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren and Maria. We have our next question coming from Taiwan. What is the suggested timeline of bar preparation once the student starts an LL.M program, or starts the program, excuse me?
So I'll start and say that I think if a student is planning to sit for a US bar exam, they're going to want to start planning for that right away, because you'll want to make sure that you're taking the courses that state's bar exam will require. So we would recommend, even from the point of admission, kind of being in touch and asking those questions about what classes you would need to take. So the sooner the better, although not to panic, that you can still get here and get settled, but we'll want to make sure that you're getting all those required courses in. In terms of OPT, for students who would be starting in the fall, in August, which is kind of the traditional start time, you would not need to start the OPT application process until the new year, typically around February. And that would have you to be eligible for when you've graduated from the program, typically in May. So OPT and then the bar exam are kind of two separate things that you need to consider. So I'll stop there and see if anybody else wants to add to that.
Said most states offer the bar exam twice a year. It's usually in July and February. And probably if you're an international student, you would be taking New York or California. So that's their standard timing. And so hopefully you would have some resources at your school where people would help you kind of figure out the timing of when you would need to be applying for the bar exam, and then also which session, and then how that might work if you're applying for OPT.
Perfect. We have a question coming in from Japan, Tokyo. Do you accept international students without working experience, meaning new graduates that have just completed their program in their home country?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do accept students who are just graduating from law school or already graduated and work as a lawyer. So,
And Tara, are those students at an advantage or disadvantage if they are just completed their program with no working experience?
no, there is no, I mean, we don't give preference to those who graduated and worked. They're all the same. The only requirement that we do require is a law degree. Working experience is good, but it's not a requirement. So there is nothing preferred in those who work and apply versus those who just graduated, except that they will have experience.
And I will say that we look at the application a little different in the sense that we don't make it the one. We try not to put them all in the same scale in the sense that, oh, this one has 10 years of experience, so I'm going to give that person all the money. I think we try to look at the applications as the people that have less work experience and the people that have more experience in what each group can give to the LLM class with or without that experience.
Ali, did you want to add anything on that one about work experience?
Sure. I mean, people have differences of opinion as to when they should be coming. And I would just say that, in some countries, it makes more sense to come right after while you're kind of in the swing of things and you are used to studying. And in other places, people will choose to try to work for a little bit and save money so that they can fund the time that they're living here. So it's a personal decision. And if you're trying to decide between one or the other, then I know any one of us would be happy to talk through it with you.
Thank you, Ali. We have a question directly for Tara. Tara, there is a question about the average scholarship amount at SLU.
Okay, so our tuition is $44,680 for the year. An average scholarship that we give out to students are between $25,000 to $30,000, and that's divided for into the 2 semesters. One in January if the student starts in January, and the other one is in fall. So that's the average. We have had students who received full scholarship, and we have had students who 35 or more. Yeah.
Thank you. And our final question, which we'll end on, and it doesn't say where the question's coming in from, but this is a great question to close out. How applicable and different is the American jurisprudence system from the South Pacific or any other region for that matter?
I don't know that any of us are experts in all of the different South Pacific jurisdictions. So I think I can give a general answer in that it depends. And many of our graduates choose to earn an LLM in the US because it's then helpful when they go back to their home countries. I know we have a lot of graduates, and certainly a lot of my colleagues have graduates who earn their degree and then go back home and work with maybe American companies that are working in their country, or they work with different companies, different businesses that are interfacing with American companies in their home jurisdiction. And so having that knowledge is helpful for them when they go home, no matter what their system at home is.
Sure. And I'll just add to that by saying the world is just rapidly internationalizing, and we're becoming more interconnected rather than less. So finding a way to capitalize and develop a set of skills that perhaps other students in your country do not have is a real way to distinguish yourself in the job market in terms of international opportunities.
Okay. I think we're going to have to wrap it up at this point, but once again, I want to thank Tara, Maria, Ali, Sarah, and Lauren for all of your expertise on today's call. It was a lot of information, and I know that it was very helpful to myself, but also to our advisors that are speaking with students directly and working with students at our Education USA centers across the region, and also to our students that joined the call today.